So this is part 3 of the Commodore game, 64 games that I've got on the shelf, which I'm gradually moving into storage. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, go back and look at the first video where we showed you the storage device and how we're going to set it up, and secondly, the first set of games which were on the KIXX Squad budget label. First video is quite long. I'm going to try and keep these now more concise as possible. It depends what I come across. If I come across a game I know something about, I'm going to talk about it. So today we're going to look at the budget games of the KIXX and Elite Encore label. Now, in terms of Elite, they were a software publishing house, and most of these games are either their own games or conversions. So they did some arcade conversions we'll come across in a moment. The KIXX label, I think that encompasses quite a few different software houses: US Gold, Accolade, Microprose, I think Rainbow Arts, possibly Palace Software as well. Going back to the KIXX Squad ones, that was mostly Ocean, Activision and Domark as well. So we'll go through these bit by bit. Like I said, if I know something about them, I'll try and fill you in best I can. If I don't, then I'll just move on very, very quickly. We'll deal with the Elite stuff first, because I haven't got so many of those. There's across there. So the first one up is Bombjack 2. That was the sequel to Bombjack, which was an arcade game. This one, I believe, was actually an original game. I could be wrong on that one, but it was a follow. I didn't particularly enjoy playing the Bombjack conversions. Certainly the first one, anyway. On the 64 wasn't a great conversion. Other formats were much better, but it wasn't all that good. I never played this one. So let's see how we get on with that one. There's a classic. Ikari Warriors, which was a top-down, just trying to see that there, top-down, up-scrolling shoot 'em up with the vein of Commando, where you were moving your soldier up the screen. You could jump in tanks and blow things up. Very, very well converted. A lot of these games were fantastic, converted across a number of formats, but even made it onto console as well. I think the NES had a version of Ikari Warriors. Not a bad game at all, good fun, pretty good. Now, many happy hours spending playing Mike Reed's Pop Quiz, purely because me and a friend of mine, we used to play this quite often, and we knew a fair bit about music, and it was always good fun. It's a quiz game at the end of the day, based on I think it was a TV programme at the time, brain-stimulating music trivia fun. Yeah, you probably need to know a fair bit about music now to get some of the things on that. Look, it's not the greatest game in the world, but I spent so much time playing that one. Cannot possibly recommend that highly enough. We showed you Arkanoid on the KIXX Squad in the last video. This is Batty, which is a similar thing, breakout style, where you've got the bat at the bottom of the screen and a row of bricks at the top, and this is pretty much the same sort of thing. Destroy the bricks, move on to the next screen. There's also Alleyway, I think it is, on the Game Boy, which is the same sort of thing. It's good fun, pretty good game, that one, worth playing. One of my all-time favourite games, Buggy Boy. And you can see that's the arcade machine on the front there. I need to lean forward with that was the original arcade, and as you can see on this one, very much in the vein of sort of driving game at the time. Car at the bottom screen moves left across the screen. The idea is a time attack game. Complete the course quickly as possible, go through the gates. You can do jumps and all sorts. The Commodore 64 version was possibly one of the very best conversions. I spent more time playing the Amiga version, which I absolutely loved to bits and was able to finish it quite regularly. Never actually played it in the arcade though, but if you're a Commodore 64 collector or a fan and want to play a good game, one of the best games on the system, that is definitely at the top of your list. Now, fans of 80s television programmes and frustratingly high difficulty levels, this is Airwolf. I've actually never played this. I've only read about it. You can see there from the back there. It's based on the TV series about a high-powered helicopter. I think it had Ernest Borgnine, the actor in it, well-known actor in it. I think it was him. I don't remember the TV programme at all, I'm afraid, but yeah, meant to be a very, very good game on the Spectrum, but I said I've never played it on Commodore 64, so I can't possibly tell you anything else about it. Ghosts and Goblins, one of our arcade conversions. Here's one of the hardest game series in the history of game series, which are hard. The follow-up Ghouls and Ghosts was also equally difficult. I've played this many times, but I've just never got anywhere with it, purely because I'm rubbish at playing games. But definitely like to give that a go again at some point. It really is an absolute classic, certainly from the mid-80s in terms of arcades and great games. And this is one that, if you play the game, if I remember from what I've sort of read about it recently, and you don't do it the correct way, it sends you back to the start to do it the right way. Cruel stuff. People, you get infinite lives nowadays and resets and continues. That, God, yeah, you start all over again. 3, and 2 hits and you're dead. So that's it. This was an interesting license, if I remember at the time, was Live and Let Die, the 1973 Roger Moore's first James Bond film, which ended up being sort of a powerboat racing sequence from one of the major set pieces in the film. Interesting thing that this was actually sort of came out about 13-14 years after the film was done. It's a really strange license to have. Why would you do that, especially when there were other, the Living Daylights, I think License to Kill being done at the time. Why would you pick that one? I really have no idea. There are a couple of really sort of duff James Bond games. I haven't played that one, so I can't possibly comment. It does get fairly reasonably good reviews. Beyond the Ice Palace, which I think was an original title from Elite. Again, I don't know much about this one because I never really played it. Yeah, so a look on that one. Yeah, I have no idea, so we can move quickly on from that one. And then finally we mentioned the sequel at the top. This is the original, which is Bomb Jack. Like I said, it's not a... The idea is to go around collecting bombs in a certain order to defuse them while avoiding enemies and picking up power-ups. It's all right, but I never really quite found the appeal as some people have done. Some people do hold that game in quite high regard. Me, I'm like, it's all right. So that's the Elite Encore label. There's a small selection there of, I don't know, maybe 10. I'm not counting at the moment. And then we'll move on to the KIXX stuff. Now, I've got quite a few of these, so we'll whiz through these as quickly as possible. You'll notice again there's one of these little price tags on them. $3.99 this cost back in the day. This is Creatures. Now, for those at the time will remember that there were a couple of games, Animal Camp, Summer Camp, Creatures and Creatures 2, really pushed the boundary. I think Mayhem in Monsterland as well, that was it. 4 games, incredibly cartoon, really pushed the boundary of what the Commodore 64 could do in terms of graphics, and as a result the complete industry sort of went mental for it. But some people don't think the games are all that good. I've briefly played this, and I thought it was alright. I do like sort of cute platformer games. You're not going to see an awful lot from the back there, but very, very sort of cartoony graphics, real sort of humour in the game as well. It was good enough to spawn a sequel. Yeah, while I played a bit, I did enjoy it. So, yeah, not bad at all. This one is... this one came out of System 3. No, it's what different software houses. This one came out of System 3. This is Flimbo's Quest. And it looks like it's very much in the style of walking around a house and all bits and pieces, picking up things. I've not played it, as you can probably tell. I don't know, it just didn't look particularly my sort of game when I saw it. They put a lot of time into this one. This is the Leaderboard Multi-Mix. Now, for those of you who have grown up playing Tiger Woods or the PGA series, this was the one that really sort of defined golf games on the Commodore 64. Simple premise, design of course. This contains 3 games: Leaderboard, World Class Leaderboard, and Leaderboard Tournament. You're not going to see it again a lot from the back there. We'll have to do some gameplays on these, but it's a simple game. Golf at the bottom of the screen, draws the course in. You hit the ball, you keep moving around. I played this with a friend of mine for many years on his Commodore. I also had an Amiga version of World Class Leaderboard, which I absolutely loved. Really good fun though. Simple basic golf games. None of these sort of advanced grids and bits and pieces. This is Heroes of the Lance from the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons range. I know absolutely nothing about it, but I think given what the sort of game it's likely to be in terms of Dungeons and Dragons, I'm not going to be putting much time into it. Got very good reviews on the back here, 92% from Amstrad Action, CMVG 64, so it's got fantastic graphics. And even the Your Sig magazine said it was a blockbusting conversion of a popular RPG. Well, there you go. No, I don't know anything about that one, sorry. Tusker. Now, there were a couple of games at the time which came out. I think Myst was one of them, which may come a bit later after this one. Tusker was the one that sort of stood out because it sort of looked a bit Indiana Jones-ish. You might be able to see from there. Again, by all means, pop onto our friend the internet and just look it up. But it's like an adventure exploration game, and it looked absolutely fantastic in terms of the graphics. Some from System 3, so that you know that when they made things like Last Ninja, really sort of high quality game series that was. Again, good reviews on the back here at the time, and even the name, which you can't see there, but when you look in, you can't even see that there, can you? Just about that Tusker. It was sort of like done in the Indiana Jones thing with like the red and yellow logo on it. So, yep, I never played that one, so I don't know. 3D Pool. Now, this wasn't one I played a great deal of. It's sort of in the veins of Jimmy White's Snooker, for those of you who remember that one. There is another pool game which I played a lot more of. If it's like Archie McLean's series, then it'll be quite good. But again, I don't know much about this one. It's a snooker game on the computer. It's called 3D Pool. A stunning, realistic, true-to-life 3D pool simulation for 1980, whatever it was. Now, I mentioned Myth earlier. Ta-da! There we go. This actually, at the time, graphically again, was absolutely superb for the Commodore 64. Really started pushing the boundaries of that machine towards the end of it. Crash Scut gave it 96% for the Spectrum. Commodore User gave it 92%. Zap 64 gave it 94%. So it was scored very, very highly at the time. And the game series sort of continued as well after that. So, yeah, classic game there. Oh, yeah, now here's a conversion for you. You might remember this one. You may have forgotten it. Maybe not. Forgotten Worlds, which was an arcade game originally where you had a joystick, which, when you rotated the joystick, your guy would on the screen would sort of rotate around to fire a gun and sort of spin around like that. It was quite different. Never played this version, but I played the Amiga version, which wasn't quite so good. I didn't quite enjoy that. But again, this did get quite a lot of good reviews at the time. Yeah, it's got a, you know, when they used to put like little score like a Zap Sizzler, and I can't even read that on there. My eyes are getting terrible. Now this one came out of Rainbow Art Studio. This is Z Out, and this is a Commodore 64 side-scrolling shoot 'em up. Again, probably more familiar with myself with the Amiga version, which I quite enjoyed. And again, that got a lot of good reviews at the time. Rainbow Arts, for that period, had done a lot of really sort of quite poor games, and then they, like some software houses did at the time, they did a nice purple patch where they'd sort of bring out decent game after decent game after decent game. I remember correctly, there was one game that we may come to a bit later, which sort of came out of the blue, and there were certain houses, software houses and developers, synonymous with bad games and synonymous with good games, and you'd sort of work out which ones from there. For example, you'd never touch a game by Melbourne House because of the poor version they did on Double Dragon. Yeah, so, but you learn from that. Yeah, now, Stunt Car Eraser, wow. This is a 3D racing game, and all the tracks were sort of like giant, up and down, great sort of jumps and over there, and you would race one car around a track. But you could also get damage on the fourth side. It was from Jeff Crammond, who went on to create the Formula 1 Grand Prix series for the PC and the Amiga. Absolutely brilliant game, really original, and I put so many hours into this, both on the 64 and the Amiga. It was fabulous to play, a lot of fun. One game which was fun to play at one point, but not on this one, was Outrun. Now, this game is undoubtedly going to be has to be in the Video Game Hall of Fame because of the impact it had at the time when it came out. But the home conversions never ever captured the imagination, and this one here is an absolute horrible one, absolutely horrible. And this is, we talk about software houses. At the time, US Gold got the right to this, and they were responsible for bringing out some pretty awful games at the time. And they picked this up, and it was just horrible. A friend of mine had it, and I played it, and it's like, ugh. He played the arcade games. He plays my Outrun 2 or Outrun Coast to Coast on the Xbox or the PS2, and that's like the proper incarnation of it. But this version was awful, absolutely awful. Again, we go back to the last video. Why would you convert something which is going to be so difficult to put in there purely from the point of actually, you're going to sell a boatload of copies because everyone wants to play Outrun on their own computer. Anyway, rant over. 30 years too late. This is Barbarian II. Very much described as a hack and slash. Well, a nice name, hack and slash. It's a 2-on-2 fighting game. Basically, you're in an arena. One barbarian one side of the screen, one barbarian the other side of the screen, and you sort of go towards each other and use swords. And it's sort of like you sort of imagine Street Fighter but with swords and an awful lot slower. It was actually very good. It got a lot of good reviews. I think this was the one with at the time glamour model Maria Whittaker. She was in the game at the back, and there was a certain code you typed in, and you could remove her bra. Which, yeah, I'd like to say happy memories, but I don't think so. But yeah, they're quite good, and you sort of cut people's head off, and the little green toad will come across and kick the head out at the screen. Yeah, it was just fun while it lasted. Baseball simulator, hardball. And this was a long time ago. This is actually, I actually enjoyed playing this game. Very, very simple, basic controls, very, very simple, basic premise of baseball. But there wasn't an awful lot apart from the games you see on the Atari 2600 where you got the diamond and little stick figures running around. Yeah, and it's spawned a couple of sequels, and it sort of led on to the games that have sort of taken back. Have you ever played a good baseball game? I don't know. It's difficult to know what's a good baseball game and what's a bad baseball game. Baseball on Wii Sports, for example, is incredibly easy. And then you try and play one of the Major League Baseball titles like the Bigs or a couple of it. I can't remember. Brain like a sieve at the moment. I enjoy playing baseball games, but I don't know if they capture the true spirit of baseball. Perhaps someone could let me know whether they do or they get close enough. I don't know. But at the time, it was a very, very well reviewed and respected game. So. As would be Winter Games, which some of you may remember, may more know now about the NES version. This is just basically just trying to be winter sports games. There's obviously a Summer Games variant of it and a World Games variant of it. There's a number of skiing and bobsleighing and ice skating and speed skating to take part in. At the time, it was great because you got 6 little games in one for there. Yeah, I'm more familiar with the summer game versions than with the winter games ones, but not so bad. That's not. Oh, yeah. I don't recognise this one. Mission Elevator. That's a new one on me. I'm not sure whether it's a variant on Elevator Action or not. Probably not. I'm not even sure if it's an original game. Oh, I don't know anything about that one. I'm sorry, I know nothing about that. It could be. I have to get it loaded up and see what it's like, won't we? Oh, yeah. Talk about Tusker earlier. You see the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. You can see that was we saw about the Tusker colouring earlier. That's what I was on about there. This is really horrible. A friend of mine had it more or less when it first come out. I think we'd seen the film, and then there's an arcade game about this, and then this came out, and this is shocking. This is really horrible. Naff colours, naff graphics. There's the second section where you've got to go down the mine shaft in the mine cart. Oh. Too much time spent when 10 years old trying to play that. But yeah, I haven't played it since. But yeah, I'm not rushing back to play that one, I'll be honest with you. Oh yeah, Blasteroids. Now this was a variation on Asteroids brought up, and already back then in the mid to late 80s, we were rebooting games from sort of 5-10 years beforehand. This was a similar sort of thing. You may be able to see some of the bits and pieces there, but graphically it was a good thing. It got very, very, very good reviews at the time. I never played it myself, but it's meant to be sort of like Asteroids with a twist, so I like games like that, so I'll go. This is what have we got here? Oh, Marauder. Yeah. Oh, Marauder. No, Marauder. I think I may have briefly played this one. It's a top-down racing, shooting type game. Yeah, don't know. Yeah, beyond that, I can't really fill you with more information on that one. This is Tiger Road, which again is another arcade conversion. Not particularly memorable as a game or as the arcade. I'm thinking of Black Tiger, which didn't get such good conversions, but was a much better game. Road Blasters. Now, I remember playing this and being incredibly disappointed, because the premise being is you're, again, car at the bottom of the screen, driving up the highway, and then you're sort of shooting things and collecting fuel pods. Yeah, but I just never got very impressed with it. I don't know whether it's... I think I played not just this version, I played other versions of it. Yeah, it sort of left me a bit cold, really. The game that rocked America. Can you guess what it was? This is Infiltrator. And that is all I can tell you. There's some blurb on the back, but it just tells you what the game is, how good it is. Yeah, sorry, I don't know anything about that one, so I can't comment on it. Gauntlet 2. If you don't know Gauntlet was a top-down dungeon game where you control a character walking around trying to find the exit to move to the next level, and on the way you encounter sort of ghosts and grunts and wizards and death and slime, and you have to collect keys to open doors, you have to pick up food to restore your health. You can't shoot the food, because if you do, then you'll need food badly. Yeah, tremendously good fun. It's a multiplayer game. The arcade game was one of the original 4 players at the time. You can choose from 4 characters. Yeah, very, very good series, that one. Gauntlet 1, Gauntlet the Deeper Dungeons, which was the extension tape. Can't say pack, tape, because it was a tape at the time. And of course Gauntlet 2, which was a sequel. There was actually a Gauntlet 3, and there's been Gauntlet 4 as well. But beyond the first 2, I've not played either of those. Jack the Nipper. There we go. Which means that Gremlin obviously got involved in the KIXX label as well, because they were responsible for this, and probably one of the other games I showed you earlier, which I didn't pick up upon. Basically, you're controlling the baby, going around causing as much havoc as possible. I remember seeing lots of adverts for this at the time, thinking, no, it looks really stupid. Never played it, but it's there to give it a go. I have no idea what this is. Stifflip & Co. I've heard of it, but I've never actually played it, so... it's one of the most accomplished and certainly one of the most enjoyable graphic adventures I've seen. Commodore User Magazine. Rarely has the idea of the icon-driven adventure implemented with such style and sense of humour. Oh yeah, Computer Weekly. Yeah, I don't know. There we go. That's maybe one to explore, isn't it? Now, going back to when we talked about software houses producing decent games when they had no right to. Bionic Commando, particularly on the Commodore 64, was one of those games where it absolutely captured the spirit of the arcade game, where another conversion it didn't, but it was converted by Go, and Go was the offshot of US Gold, and they hadn't got a particularly good reputation either. But this one, it got Sizzler and Commodore User Superstar Award, so it was a top game on the Commodore 64. But I don't think it was all that hot elsewhere. Now, I loved this one when I was younger. A friend of mine had it. This is Way of the Tiger Avenger, or Avenger Way of the Tiger. Now, he had it in the original black clam case, which I've got one, which I'll show you on a later video of another game I picked up. And I quite enjoy this. Again, it's sort of in the sort of Gauntlet style, a top-down ninja walk around and attack thing. And I had a good time playing that. I really quite enjoyed those from Gremlin. I'm going to delve back into those and really, sort of explore that a bit further. It was a game I do fondly remember. We discussed Gauntlet 1 earlier. This is Gauntlet, Gauntlet 2 earlier. This is Gauntlet, the original. So you know what that's about. And then finally we looked at the sequel for this as well. I should get these in order, shouldn't I? This is Barbarian, the original, not to be confused with Barbarian, the game by Psygnosis, which we may come to in another video as well. Again, similar sort of thing, one-on-one fighting across the screen with swords and loincloths and bits and pieces like that. So that's another section of games which will now be filed away into the cabinet. Up next, part 4, I'm going to be focusing on a selection of Codemaster games. Now, for those of you synonymous with budget gaming, will know all about Codemasters. A software house still going today, although way different from what they were when they first started, but still the name means something in the industry, which is fantastic even all these years later. A software house producing some great games at really cheap prices. Not all of them great, let's be honest with you, some of them were absolute rubbish, but absolute classics and some fondly remembered characters as well. So we'll see that on the next video, and then we're going to be into Mastertronic and other bits and pieces as well. We'll try and do those and get these whizzed through as quickly as possible, because I know you don't want to sit here and be watching these all day. But hopefully there's some games there you go, oh yeah, I remember that, and it'll inspire you, more than anything, inspire you to track those games down again and play them once more. And if you've never heard anything about them, and you understand that my vague ramblings about them might actually appeal to you, well, here's an opportunity for you to get out there and see if you can source that game and try it for yourself and see what you think. Because don't forget, these games come from a completely different time, much more simpler in terms of their construction, but can be incredibly difficult compared to the games of today, which are, I don't say blighted, but they are heavily influenced by the amount of continues and no sort of limitations on character lives. In some of those games you get 3 lives, that'd be it, 1-hit deaths. That's why games were so frustrating at the time. Anyway, enough of that now. That's all we're going to do for today. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll bring you some more very, very soon. Check out all the other stuff on the channel as well, because there's some interesting bits and pieces there, and some probably not so interesting bits and pieces, but you have to search through those and find out what you're going for. Hope you've enjoyed it. Speak to you again soon. Bye for now.